Okay, as businesses adopt AI, silicon performance is rapidly gaining importance, often becoming the cornerstone of a successful digital transformation. As a result, the semiconductor sector is experiencing a massive transformation with its customers in various industries. Today, Canada is poised to become a key player in the global semiconductor value chain, something that our next panel is excited to share their insights on. So without further ado, in conversation with the Vice President of Hardware Catalyst Initiative at ventureLAB, Avinash Persaud, please welcome Vice President and Engineering and Country Manager of Marvell Technologies, Nizar Rida, with co-founder of BlueMind, Niraj Mathur.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
So welcome to this panel, Chips on the Block. What is Canada's critical role in the global semiconductor supply chain? I'm Avinash Persaud, Vice President of the Hardware Catalyst Initiative at ventureLAB. I'm joined by very distinguished colleagues, Nizar and Niraj, and I'll ask them to introduce themselves very quickly.
Sure. Nizar Rida. I'm the VP of Engineering at Marvell Technology, and I'm the Marvell Country Manager. I'm based out of Ottawa. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please. Hello, everyone. My name is Niraj Mathur. I'm co-founder at BlueMind. And I'll just say one thing. Following from the panel before us is that they're a tough act to follow. Semiconductors can be a pretty dry subject, but I urge you guys to stay around because it's crucial to what we're going to be building for the future. So.
Yeah, sometimes I think semiconductors are the Rodney Dangerfield of technology sectors. So we need to disabuse you of that. And that relates to the first question. Before we jump into why is it critically important that Canada has a significant place to play within the global semiconductor supply chain? Does it have the significance we think it has? Why is it fundamentally different from other technology sectors like aerospace or robotics? And I'll start off with you, Nizar, if you could give your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, semiconductors is not a segment. It's not a market. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. I call it a utility. It's a must-have. It's a foundational. It's a technology that is needed everywhere. We use it everywhere in every works of life. So it's a pervasive, like a financial sector. You need banking everywhere. You need money. Semiconductor is needed everywhere, basically.
Yeah, now I'll put it this way, right? How many of you did not interact with a semiconductor so far today? And we're not even at the end of the day, right? You drove your car, you drove your e-bike or e-scooter, you're using your phones. Right, it's, as Nizar said, pervasive, right? You can't imagine a future without these chips being a part of our lives. So it's absolutely crucial and foundational for an advanced economy, right?
It reminds me to some extent, on the odd occasion, hopefully not more frequent than it has been, when your power goes out and you want to know what happens and you pick up your laptop or your phone and try to see, and then you realize your router doesn't work and you can't turn on the TV to see what's happening. So many different things we've become completely dependent on shuts things down. So it is a cross-technology platform that we're looking at and not just a vertical capability. So let's say we now have a better appreciation of the importance of semiconductors. I think what we now want to look at is with the global ambitions for reshoring semiconductors and doing more in this sector as the world is awakening to its importance. What value can Canada bring, especially given the strength Canada has in the AI space, both academically and commercially? And I'll start with you, Niraj, if you can bring your insights to that.
Yeah, so you know, semiconductors has been around and it's been a growing, evolving industry for the last many decades. So it's really a mature industry at this point. What's truly exciting is the new applications that are emerging, AI being the most exciting of these, in my opinion. AI has really shaken up our industry because AI is a very different kind of workload, or more accurately, machine learning, neural network processing is a very different type of workload versus human-written sequential code, which is what our chips have been processing for eons. So this has triggered a whole new wave of innovation and invention that needs to happen very, very quickly. And we've been caught a little bit off guard, but I think Canada especially is extremely well positioned in this space to really make a global impact. This is arguably the birthplace of machine learning, modern machine learning, with folks like Jeff Hinton and Joshua Bengio that have driven some of the seminal research in this space. And we've got actually a very thriving ecosystem of AI semiconductor companies and full stack software companies based here as well. So we can play an absolute leading role, but we need to act fast and act decisively to grow this industry, build the talent, get the capital, and really make an impact.
And Nizar, your own experience with the opportunities that you're seeing in this space?
Well, it is tremendous. I mean, you'll see every company now spending billions of dollars to build, especially the hyperscalers, Microsoft, Google, Apple, Amazon, all of them. The one thing that struck me, I mean, Canada has a long history. It's over 100 years of high tech, in communication, optical space. The Canadian government spent millions of dollars, investing in optical space, investing in AI. These were advanced technologies just before people even knew about them. And what's interesting now about AI, these technologies are coming together. Optical, Canada has one of the most advanced optical, researches in the world. Ottawa is a big center for that. AI is in Toronto. And if you see now, when you're building all these training engines and compute, we call them, accelerated computes, you're building the trains as the brain. The limbs need to be connected with optical links. So now, a lot of that's coming together. All these technologies are coming together, and we need to capitalize on this next wave of buildings. But the technologies are here, the talent is here. We just need to take it to the next level and grow exponentially with it.
I'll add one more point to everything Nizar said. I think another critical aspect of our industry and AI, whose futures are really heavily entwined, is that of around sustainability. And really what the proliferation of AI and these large language models that all of us enjoy using today is going to mean for the future of our planet, right? The projections, if you look at them from various sources, including some really popular people out there, are really scary, right? Something like, 90% of all of humanity's energy generation could be consumed by AI in the next 15, 20 years, right? That's a scary stat. So we need to do something to innovate now. And this is another area where Canada is very uniquely positioned because sustainability is front and center of what we want to do to make the world a better place. So I think we can have a huge impact here.
It triggered my thought of an example. When I started my career 35 years ago, I worked on a chip. We were consuming 15 watts. To put it into perspective, the old incandescent bulbs, 120 square centimeter. It's a 60 watt. You could buy it. You no longer can buy these bulbs because they got phased out. But it's 120 square centimeter. So it's half a watt per square centimeter, if you think about it. And if you touch it, it burns your finger in the past. We were building a 1 square centimeter in 15 watts. Today, AI chips, which is what Niraj is touching, we are burning 1,500 watts in anywhere between 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters. So, coming up with techniques to deliver chips ultra low power. I don't know if you guys heard in the news just last week, Microsoft just commissioned Castilian Energy to fire a new nuclear plant in Pennsylvania, and the entire nuclear plant is used by their data center. So So energy is going to be important, and how do we, it's our role, the next phase is what do we do to make energy efficient devices? And every watt counts, and if we reduce it, because the only thing is constant now is a growing need for energy, growing need for these faster devices. And if we have to play a role in reducing the amount of power that these devices consume.
And I do see numerous instances where AI not only is a consumer of the power, but AI is being used to help us refine how efficiently we're using power. So in a manner of speaking, the technology that we're being able to deliver now that we're so stellar at in this region is helping us drive the next generation of capabilities. I was in Korea earlier this year when everything they wanted to speak to me about the attractiveness of Canada was around its AI capability, both academically and commercially. And we have several companies interested in setting up R&D centers here to take advantage of the capability. We can never become complacent of any advantages we have because we're in a global challenge for these things, but we can't overlook that we have substantial benefits that we can further leverage on that. There are also some other opportunities for fabrication capability. We have a few bright spots in the fabrication side. One in Bromont, Quebec, well, two, IBM Bromont Assembly and Test. There's Teledyne Dalsum MEMS. There's an indium phosphide fab in Ottawa and so on. What insights do you have on opportunities in those maybe more specialized areas where Canada can play?
Lisa?
So, I mean, this is a big topic. We've been discussing this with Canadian government. I mean, I know Niraj, myself, and Avinash have been in so many round tables with Minister Champagne and other ministers, Minister Fedeli, discussing what can we do today. In post-COVID, COVID kind of highlighted one thing is, we waited months to get vaccines, to get N95 masks, because manufacturing moved somewhere else in Asia, and it was hard to get access to basic necessities. That triggered a whole thought of, bringing back manufacturing or offshoring stuff, bring it back to the US and Canada. And Canada has to play a big role into this as we are trying to establish a North American semiconductor corridor. We have technologies. Obviously, fabs are very expensive. If you look at fabs, we have only like 3 companies now that building chips in the world. TSMC, Samsung, and Intel, which is now trying to get back onto their feet. But these fabs are in billions. You're spending a 30, 40 billion to build a fab to build these chips. So obviously, that's not a most efficient way for us to spend money to get there because we don't have the critical mass. But what we do have is the building technologies to build these AIs. If you look at the AI components, you need compute, you need data delivery mechanisms. So there are certain technologies. You need packaging. You no longer can build these AI chips monolithically. You can put a single die in a package, as Niraj team and companies, they're trying to build these ultra-low power chips. These chips now, they are reaching the absolute theoretical limit. This is the maximum you can build a chip, 625 by 625 millimeters. It's big. So what people are doing now is they are stacking it up horizontally, vertically and horizontally. So we are looking at packaging. Canada plays a big role in that. That's where we are trying to advise the Canadian government, the Canadian authorities. Look, let's invest in $1 billion or 2 or 3 in packaging compared to investing in fabs in a 50 billion or 30 or 40 or 50 billion dollars. Other building blocks, chiplets, optical technologies, these are all needed. So our job now is advising the Canadian government plus influencing our brothers in the US south of the border, because we do a lot of work with them, and we have a lot of I work for a US company, and my advice to them is constantly trying to pick pieces of the food chain and double down on it. packaging, building certain pieces of these AI technologies here, because we have that capability and we have the domain expertise to do that.
And I'm going to slightly change our focus to what happens if Canada steps aside from the opportunity of getting engaged in the supply chain. Where does it put us on the global stage? Where does it put us?
Well, I'll say, just if you look at the last 3 years, there's been an unprecedented amount of investments in this industry to the tune of almost $800 billion has been funneled into the semiconductor space for the reasons Nizar just mentioned. If we sit back and don't play to our strengths and become active participants in this space, we risk losing a lot. We risk being uncompetitive in all the future areas of technology because this is, as we discussed earlier, foundational. I believe we can absolutely do it. As an example, the Netherlands decided to make this investment, a tiny country, much smaller than ours, right? They decided to make an investment, and there's a company there called ASML that is the dominant supplier of semiconductor manufacturing equipment globally. They're number one, right? And that's I think what we need to do is play to our strengths, identify these spaces. Advanced packaging is one of them. Compound semiconductors is another one. The semiconductor industry is not a monolith. The chip that moves your seat in your automobile is very different than the chip that runs ChatGPT for you sitting in the server. So there's many areas. We just need to work as a team, academics, government, industry, and identify those areas and push forward.
Thank you. And the question that I'm going to ask now is Canada, when Nortel Networks dissolved, when BlackBerry went to enterprise software and gave up on the hardware side of things, Canada no longer had what could be legitimately called a giant in the semiconductor industry headquartered here. So many of our companies, Marvell included, is headquartered in the US. How do we navigate a strong voice in the semiconductor opportunities in Canada with a subsidiary voice, if you will? And I'm posing that to Nizar because I think he does a tremendous job in this area and could let us know how he does it.
I mean, I graduated through Nortel as well. Like many immigrants, I moved here 32 years. Next week is actually 33 years. And I started at Nortel, and then I wanted to build something special, different, So I started my own companies. I am a serial entrepreneur, and I saw a value. I moved to the States. I worked in the States for 3 years, and then I decided to start my first company in Canada because I saw a good value for money, good talent, good infrastructure, good policies that helps us to grow, basically. And that was when Nortel was at its heights. Nortel was a $240 billion company. It was 1/3 of the TSX at that stage. Having a big brother is always good because they will work on advanced technology that you can't afford to. So that was something definitely when we lost Nortel, we lost certain things. But companies, a lot of small companies started. I started my first company in '97. And I focused on hardware. Hardware was, the dot-com boom and bust. That was really all hardware. You could raise money and you could build companies. Then we went through a phase when Nortel went bankrupt. Yeah, we've lost stuff. But I started a second company doing hardware, and hardware started to come back into fashion maybe 3-4 years ago, and you need that, and we started to build that base. And so we became one of the main suppliers of chip development for U.S. companies because there's always market. You can still gather the domain expertise and gather the talent, and you could sell that talent and that IP development to U.S. and other places. So there is room, and there is room to grow in areas where when you can double down on certain technologies that you can play and gain market share.
And I apologize, I'm going to have to conclude because we're on a strict timeline. But we will be around immediately following for any follow-up. There's a lot more we'd love to be speaking about. I do want to mention that we have our Hard Tech Summit conference happening on November 6th and 7th. If you're interested in that, it's Canada's largest hardware conference. Go to ventureLAB.ca and you'll find out more details about it. So thank you very much, and thank you to my very distinguished colleagues.
Thank you.